Xie Zhaoyuan, the third young master of the Xie family, was a born pleasure seeker. On my wedding night, he saw my husband pacing back and forth outside the bridal chamber, then proposed a wife-swapping game. My husband's voice trembled with uncontrollable ecstasy. "Third brother, are you serious? Not a word of a lie." Later, I became Zhaoyuan's wife, yet the eldest young master Xie never got to marry his beloved White Moonlight. One night, dead drunk, the eldest young master Xie stumbled into my room, his eyes swimming with tears. Zhaoyuan restrained his hand, saying, "Eldest brother, it's getting late. What brings you here to see my wife?" My love for the eldest young master Xie Zhaoyu, had long been the talk of the capital. He had been gravely wounded on the battlefield, and it was my father who led his troops to rescue him, costing my father a leg in the process. But he showed not an ounce of gratitude. Even asking to call off our engagement, when he was carried back, he was already unconscious. Imperial physicians took turns examining him, but none could find a cure. In the heavy snow, I knelt and kowtowed all the way from the foot of the mountain to Tsiyun Temple on the peak, praying with all my sincerity to move heaven and gods, that they might bless Xie Zhaoyu with an early recovery. I collapsed before the Buddha statue, my knees soaked in blood, and had to recuperate for a full 3 months. Fortunately, he woke up and regained full mobility, but my legs ached unbearably every time the weather turned bad. Later, the matter of the broken engagement was forcibly suppressed by the Xie family's grandmother. She personally visited our mansion to apologize, stating that the wedding would proceed as agreed. Only then did my father and legal mother calm their anger. In truth, I had long heard rumors that Xie Zhaoyu was having an affair with an orphaned bean curd seller in the market. I secretly went to her stall, planning to steal a glance from afar. At her waist hung a piece of green, translucent jade pendant, utterly out of place with her coarse linen clothes. I recognized it. It was Xie Zhaoyu's constant companion. Su Wanning smiled warmly through the rising steam, gesturing for me to sit. I froze in place, following my gaze. She looked down at the jade pendant on her waist. "You must be Zhaoyu's fiancé, the Song General's concubine-born daughter." She enunciated the words concubine-born daughter with heavy emphasis. My birth mother had passed away when I was 5, and I had since been raised by my legal mother. She treated me as her own flesh and blood, so few people outside the family knew I was not a legitimate daughter. It must have been Xie Zhaoyu who told her. She was deliberately trying to provoke me. I did not lose my temper. I had only come to see what kind of woman Xie Zhaoyu favored. Now that I had seen her, she was nothing special. As soon as I returned home, I told my legal mother I wanted to call off the engagement. She beat her chest and stamped her feet, scolding me soundly. "The Song family has no sons. Your elder sister married below her station, and we struggled to secure this marriage for you. Your father even lost a leg because of it. Though he still retains his official title, he has been sidelined, no different from a dismissed official. Even if you have to endure it, you must see this marriage through." Tears of grievance welled up in my eyes. "Mother, you are a woman too. If the man you were to marry did not adore you, would you still force yourself to marry him?" My legal mother cupped my face in her hands, her thumbs gently wiping away my tears. "Yunchu, you are the daughter of a general. Are you going to admit defeat before even entering the marriage chamber? But the Marquis of Guangping's mansion has more than one son, does it not?" A sharp glint flashed in my legal mother's eyes, her voice turning cold and stern. "Are you suggesting you marry Xie Zhaoyuan, that playboy?" His image popped into my mind, pair of seductive peach blossom eyes, a lazy smile playing on his lips, slender fingers lifting a woman's chin, every gesture exuding reckless frivolity. I hesitated. After this incident, my legal mother kept me under even stricter confinement, forbidding me from leaving the mansion, forcing me to stay home and await the wedding. Trapped at home, I heard that the stall Su Wanning had run for 3 years had been bought out by a mysterious person, barring her from doing business in the market. That stall had originally been what Xie Zhaoyu intended to buy for her. Su Wanning had refused, clinging to her dignity, fearing she would be looked down upon by the Xie family. Little did she know someone else would beat her to it. The day before the wedding, Xie Zhaoyu secretly slipped a note through the side gate of the general's mansion, asking to meet me. I squeezed out through the crack in the door. His tone was flat as he said, "Song Yunchu, I have agreed to marry you, so why are you still making things difficult for Wanning?" Even if I denied it now, he would never believe me. I remained silent, his brows furrowed deeper. "I never thought you'd be such a cruel person. Cutting off someone's livelihood, what's the difference between that and murder?" I laughed bitterly. "Think whatever you want, I didn't do this." His scowl deepened, his voice tinged with impatience. "If not you, then who? I'm not here to accuse you. I'm only here to tell you that if you insist on marrying me, we will be husband and wife in name only. Once grandmother relents, I will definitely take Su Wanning as my secondary wife." A sharp pain twisted in my chest. I let out a shaky breath. "Do you really love her that much?" "Yes," he said. "Wanning was born into poverty, but she never resigns herself to her fate. She's resilient and kind, nothing like you sheltered ladies raised in wealthy mansions. You'll never understand." Of course I wouldn't understand. The calculation in Su Wanning's eyes was far more sophisticated than any courtesan's. She never resorted to groveling or fawning. Yet it was precisely her refusal to curry favor that had enchanted Xie Zhaoyu completely. 6 months earlier, Xie Zhaoyu had acquired a blood-sweating steed. While he was training it, the horse went berserk. Galloping from the hunting ground all the way to the main street, it charged recklessly into the market, destroying Su Wanning's stall. Su Wanning refused Xie Zhaoyu's compensation. "You fight for the country, my lord, to ensure the people live in peace and prosperity. My little stall is worthless, losing a few days of business is nothing." Xie Zhaoyu was overcome with guilt. Whenever he had free time, he would go sit at her stall. As they spent more time together, affection grew between them. He praised Su Wanning as a flower blooming on a cliff edge, forgetting all about his engagement to me, and made no attempt to hide his love for her, while I was thrown into the mire of humiliation, becoming the capital's laughingstock. I hated myself for wasting my love on him. When he asked to call off the engagement, he never spared a single thought for me. A woman whose engagement was broken would find it extremely hard to remarry. If it weren't for the debt of gratitude my father owed him, I would have cut off all ties with him right then and there. I seethed with anger all night. Before dawn broke, I was woken up to dress and do my makeup. The streets were filled with the deafening din of gongs and drums. Red silk ribbons adorned the branches on both sides of the road. Among the crowd of onlookers, I saw Su Wanning's face twisted with resentment. The moment the sedan chair landed, Xie Zhaoyu carried me out on his back. Su Wanning, dressed in plain white, her figure slender and fragile, charged out of the crowd. She raised the jade pendant high, her eyes determined as she tried to hurl herself at the stone lion at the Xie mansion gate. "You men of the Xie family are faithless. Today, you must give me an explanation." Xie Zhaoyu dropped me and rushed to stop her, but the servants sent by the old madam got there first. Su Wanning was quickly gagged. The housekeeper apologized. "My apologies for the disturbance. This is just a romantic entanglement involving our third young master. Please forgive us for the spectacle." Under the old madam's pressure, Xie Zhaoyu carried me on his back into the Xie mansion and completed the wedding ceremony. After being escorted to the bridal chamber, I sat there, filled with anxiety. In the dead of night, a shadow fell on the door panel. Xie Zhaoyu, pacing back and forth outside. I guessed he didn't know how to face me. After all, he had nearly brought shame to both the Xie and Song families. I thought back to our childhood, when he was not such a spineless man. Back then, we all studied under the imperial tutor. He was the eldest among us. On the Zhongyuan festival, he took us to the lantern fair. We had just stepped into the crowd when a sky lantern crashed nearby, setting the roof ablaze. The crowd panicked and surged forward, separating me from the others. I tripped over something and almost fell, about to be trampled underfoot, but he grabbed me, slung me over his shoulder, fought his way through the crowd, and carried me back to the general's mansion. Even though he was wearing a mask, I recognized his eyes. That gaze had been etched into my heart ever since. When I heard our families had arranged our marriage, I secretly rejoiced. Little did I know it was just a dream of my own making. I was about to lift my veil, open the door, and tell him not to worry, that we could share the room amicably, with him sleeping on the bed and me on the daybed. Suddenly, another figure leaped into the room. The man spoke casually. "Eldest brother, want to play a game with me? I have no mood for your games." "A wife-swapping game? What do you mean?" "I'll take your place in the bridal chamber. You go marry Su Wanning. She's already your woman anyway. I won't touch anything my elder brother has had." Xie Zhaoyu's voice trembled with uncontrollable ecstasy. "Really, not a word of a lie. What if grandmother blames us? What can she do? What's done is done." "Good." My heart plummeted into an ice cellar in an instant. How dare those two brothers trifle with my life's most important matter? The moment Xie Zhaoyuan pushed the door open, I swung a slap at him, but he caught my hand mid-air. He tugged hard, pulling me into his chest. "Wife, so eager, you can't even wait for your husband to lift your veil." "Xie Zhaoyuan, you." Before I could hurl the harsh words at him, his lips crashed onto mine. "What are you doing?" "Hush, keep your voice down. We don't want grandmother to hear. I'm your sister-in-law." "No, now you're my wife." His hand tore at my robe. I struggled wildly. Xie Zhaoyuan simply picked me up around the waist, threw me onto the bed, and kissed me relentlessly. "Yunchu, if you don't want this, you can tell me to stop anytime." Though he said that, his hands kept stripping off his own clothes, revealing his lean, toned muscles. Those muscles, as if they knew how good they looked, were determined to catch my eye. The red candle flickered. My heart thumped wildly in my chest. He pried open my clenched fist, guiding my hand to his firm chest. He whispered seductively in my ear, "Do you want this? If you don't refuse, I'll take that as a yes." Burning kisses rained down on me. My sanity teetered on the edge of collapse. A crescent moon peeked through the crack in the window, casting a silvery glow that outlined two entangled figures. Xie Zhaoyuan and I, neither of us could tell who was more depraved than the other. Just as I was about to lose control completely, I looked into Xie Zhaoyuan's eyes, filled with desire. A faint sense of déjà vu washed over me when I woke up again. My whole body ached as if it had been crushed by a boulder. Outside the door came the sound of wooden rods striking flesh. I dressed neatly, pushed the door open, and stepped into the courtyard. Xie Zhaoyuan was lying face down on a wooden bench, while the servants administered family punishment with rods. Xie Zhaoyu knelt beside him, his expression desolate. When the dowager of the Xie family saw me, she took my hand with a kind smile. "Yunchu, it's my fault for not disciplining these two boys properly. They've caused a terrible disaster. Grandmother will punish them severely, and I'll personally go to your parents' mansion to apologize in sackcloth and ashes." Xie Zhaoyu looked up, his tone tinged with defiance. "Grandmother, it was third brother who proposed the wife-swapping. Now that what's done is done, why not make the best of it? Let Yunchu be his wife after all. They've already." The dowager's eyes turned sharp. "If you dare to utter another nonsense word, I'll have you beaten alongside him." Xie Zhaoyuan's screams of pain grew louder and louder with each blow. My heart softened with compassion. "Grandmother, actually you don't need to plead for him," she cut me off. "This boy has always been mischievous. But to do something like this on such an important day, I'm truly ashamed to face your parents." "Grandmother," I said, "both brothers are at fault. Why are you only punishing Zhaoyuan?" "What about him?" I raised my hand and pointed at Xie Zhaoyu. Rumors had long circulated that the dowager favored the eldest grandson, and now it was clear the gossip was true, but a bitter anger burned in my chest, and I had to voice it. Song Yunchu, don't push your luck too far, Zhaoyu snapped. Enough, stop. The dowager ordered sharply. The servants immediately halted their punishment. Xie Zhaoyuan slid off the bench and knelt on the ground, beads of cold sweat dotting his forehead. His back was already split open and oozing blood. The dowager's head maid stepped forward and spoke. Old mistress, now that things have come to this, why not just let Miss Yunchu become the third young master's wife? After the commotion caused by Miss Su yesterday, everyone in the capital is watching our mansion. We might as well grant the eldest young master his wish and let him marry Su Wanning, but the groom yesterday was clearly the eldest young master. We can tell the outside world that the third young master was ill, so his elder brother stood in for him to welcome the bride. It makes perfect sense. Besides, the wedding invitations only stated that it was an alliance between the Xie and Song families. It's not a complete lie. But yesterday, in front of all the guests, you said that Su Wanning was a romantic debt incurred by the third young master. The maid knelt heavily to the ground and slapped herself hard twice. It was this old slave's mistake. I was muddled-headed. I mixed things up. Miss Su was always meant to marry the eldest young master. The two young people had a falling out, and this old slave matched the wrong couple. The dowager waved her hand dismissively. Get up, it's not your fault. Blame it on the third boy. He's already got such a notorious reputation as a playboy. No wonder people would associate this kind of romantic scandal with him. A sharp pang tugged at my heart. I turned to look at Xie Zhaoyuan. His face was deathly pale, but a faint, bitter smile tugged at the corner of his lips, miserable and desolate. Yunchu, what do you think? The dowager asked, looking at me with a loving gaze. Is this arrangement proposed by Maid Kui acceptable to you? She and her maid had clearly already cooked up this whole story, singing in harmony. How could I possibly say no? I'll do as grandmother wishes. It's just, my parents. Grandmother will take care of everything. When the crowd dispersed, I ordered 2 servants to help Xie Zhaoyuan into his bedroom. As soon as I turned around, a mocking male voice rang out behind me. Song Yunchu, you always acted as if you'd never marry anyone but me. Who would have thought that as soon as third brother stepped into your room last night, you stripped off your clothes and spread your legs? Lucky for me, I didn't end up marrying you. Xie Zhaoyu, I retorted coldly. Have you forgotten who let third brother into my room last night? His face flushed with embarrassment as I hit the nail on the head. I flicked my sleeve and said icily, you won't get off easily with my father. He lost a leg saving his future son-in-law you. Now you've pushed me onto third brother. You owe him a leg in return. Xie Zhaoyu's eyes widened, and a flicker of fear crossed his face. Sheltered by his grandmother all his life, he had sailed through life smoothly, never knowing the hardships of the world. It was high time he learned a lesson. I turned and walked into the room to check on Zhaoyuan's injuries. The servants had already left. As soon as I stepped through the door, I saw Xie Zhaoyuan sitting bolt upright on the edge of the bed. He waved a hand, signaling me to close the door. He took off his blood-stained padded jacket, then pulled off his undergarment, revealing his fair, broad back on which faint pink scratch marks were visible. They were from last night. I felt my ears grow hot. After a moment's hesitation, I asked, "You're not hurt?" A hint of his usual recklessness returned to Zhaoyuan's face. I knew grandmother would definitely punish me, so I wore an extra thick padded jacket and even hid 2 blood packs inside. I also bribed the servants who were to administer the punishment. They raised the rods high, but brought them down gently. His tone was light, but there was a cold edge to it. A wave of sadness washed over my heart. In this deep mansion, with no parents to look after him and an openly biased grandmother, if he hadn't learned to fend for himself, he would have long been covered in scars, both physical and emotional. Seeing that I was silent, Zhao Yuan waved a hand in front of my eyes. He curled his lips into his signature playful smile. What, are you feeling sorry for your husband already? I punched him lightly on the arm. He grabbed my hand, interlaced our fingers, and said softly, "No need to feel sorry for me, I'm used to it." As soon as he finished speaking, he pressed a fleeting kiss to my forehead. My heart skipped a beat for no reason. "Xie Zhao Yuan, don't get too complacent, you still have to get past my father." The depth in his eyes darkened slightly. "Don't worry. Father-in-law is a man of justice and integrity. He'll surely know who deserves to be punished." On the third day of marriage, the traditional day for the newlyweds to return to the bride's family, the dowager of the Xie family prepared betrothal gifts loaded onto 10 carriages. She personally led the 2 Xie brothers to the general's mansion. My father claimed to be ill and refused to see them. My legal mother also gave them a frosty reception. No matter how much the dowager groveled and pleaded, it was to no avail. My legal mother pulled me behind her and said with a dark face, "The daughters of the Song family are not desperate to marry. Even if Yunchu stays in the Song mansion, I can protect her and ensure she lives a life of ease and comfort for the rest of her days. You treated marriage like a trivial game and stained my daughter's purity. My husband will definitely submit a memorial to the emperor to impeach you. Don't blame us for not sparing your old face, old mistress." The color drained from the dowager's face instantly. Tears streamed down her wrinkled cheeks as she tried to kneel before my legal mother. "I have no face left to see you all, but now that the rice is cooked and turned into porridge, what's done is done. Yunchu is already a member of the Xie family. I beg you to calm down. I promise I will treat her with the utmost kindness and respect." "Kindness and respect," my father said, hobbling out of the inner hall on his lame leg. "How exactly will you treat her kindly? My daughter was supposed to be the eldest grandson's wife of the Xie family, but now she's become the third son's wife. I hear your mansion is busy preparing the eldest young master's wedding to that orphaned girl. She never liked Yunchu to begin with. Once she marries into the family, as the elder brother's wife, she will be the respected mistress of the house. How much grievance will my daughter have to endure? General Song, please calm your anger. This old woman promises." "Old mistress, what exactly are you using to make this promise?" my father asked sharply, his entire demeanor exuding authority and dignity. My legal mother glanced at everyone present and sighed. "Here's a proposal, old mistress. Write a formal contract stating that if that orphaned girl marries into your family, you will hand over the power of managing the household to Yunchu. Only then will my husband and I be reassured." "How can that be?" Xie Zhaoyu protested indignantly. The dowager shot him a sharp glare and hissed a reprimand. "This is none of your business." Then she turned to my legal mother with a smile. "Yunchu is well educated and sensible, a true lady of a noble family. The power of managing the household should rightfully belong to her. This old woman will write the contract immediately." "Has General Song calmed his anger now?" my father snorted coldly. "Not yet. Xie Zhaoyu's conduct has been outrageous and unbecoming. He deserves 20 strokes of the rod." "General Song," Xie Zhaoyu looked visibly panicked. Xie Zhaoyuan and I exchanged a glance, both of us hiding our amusement. "If you refuse to accept this punishment," my father continued, "we will take this matter to the authorities and ask the emperor to deliver justice. If it weren't for the third young master, I truly don't know what kind of man you would have found to consummate the marriage with my daughter." The dowager's face turned ashen. She took a deep breath and said slowly, "Very well, we will do as General Song commands." The full 20 strokes were administered. For all his posturing as a man of integrity, Xie Zhaoyu bit his lip until it bled, but did not utter a single sound of pain. When we returned to the Xie mansion, Xie Zhaoyuan came over and squeezed my shoulders. "Thanks to my clever wife for sending a letter to father-in-law early to explain the whole story. That's how I escaped being beaten today, otherwise I would have been the one lying on that bench." "You smooth talker, I never thought you were like this when we were children. A shadow of sadness crossed Zhao Yuan's eyes. When we were children, your eyes were always fixed on Xie Zhaoyu. When did you ever spare a glance for me? I felt guilty and dropped my gaze. He reached out and tilted my chin up with his fingers. His eyes were hazy, his brows arched playfully. He said in a low, hoarse voice, Song Yunchu, from now on, you are only allowed to look at me. A burning kiss descended on my lips, and we tumbled onto the bed together. Xie Zhaoyuan, you know no bounds, I said, raising a hand to push him away. In an instant, my fingers were caught and pressed against his chest, where I could feel his heart pounding fiercely. Xie Zhaoyuan whispered in a deep, husky voice, my wife helped me out of trouble. It's only right that I offer myself as a reward. His gaze was unfocused with desire. I remembered what my legal mother had said to me privately when she saw me off today, pulling me into her room. Yunchu, your father and I can only help you this much. Once you step out of this door, you are Xie Zhaoyuan's wife. When you make a move in the game, you can never take it back. The road ahead will be far more difficult than you can imagine. Mother, I am the daughter of you and father. Now that I have entered this game, how can I not fight to win? My legal mother patted my shoulder heavily. In truth, there was a faint worry in my heart that I did not voice aloud. Xie Zhaoyu was definitely not a good match for me. But was Xie Zhaoyuan any better? I took over the management of the Xie Mansion's internal affairs. The first thing I did was to arrange Xie Zhaoyu's wedding. He refused. Yunchu and third brother are newlyweds. It wouldn't be right to trouble her with such matters. I'll take care of it myself, he said casually, but there was a hint of resentment hidden in his eyes. I knew he was afraid I would wrong his beloved. The dowager agreed, but repeatedly warned him that this wedding should be kept low-key. The farce of the Xiesong wedding had already made them the laughingstock of the capital, and there was no shortage of gossip circulating outside. Xie Zhaoyu looked troubled. Low-key is fine, but we must not let Wanning be wronged. After all, she will be the legitimate mistress of the Marquis of Guangping. He had deliberately said the last sentence for my benefit. So what if I held the power to manage the household? Xie Zhaoyu would inherit the Marquis title of the Xie family, and his wife would be the true mistress of the Marquis. I lowered my eyes and said nothing. Xie Zhaoyuan, who was sitting beside me drinking tea, spoke casually. Maid Kui, when was this tea sent over? Why does it taste a little sour? With that, he stood up, took my hand, and said to Xie Zhaoyu, thank you for your consideration, elder brother. I'll take my wife to watch the opera now. The opera singers are far better at putting on a show than the people in our Xie mansion. Xie Zhaoyu was left speechless. He pulled me out of the room without a care for anyone else. I've always heard that you're a notorious playboy. But you've always been extremely respectful to your elder brother, I said. Why are you willing to stand up to him for me today? Xie Zhaoyuan came to an abrupt halt and turned around. I couldn't stop in time and crashed into his arms. He cupped my chin and looked into my eyes, raising an eyebrow. A notorious playboy. How exactly am I a playboy? I lowered my voice. Don't worry, we're just husband and wife in name only. I won't interfere with your affairs outside the mansion. I heard you bought a house in the red light district, where you keep a beauty hidden away. Xie Zhaoyuan let out a disdainful chuckle, his eyes dark and deep. Husband and wife in name only. We've already consummated our marriage. Song Yunchu, do you still want to pretend we're just a superficial couple? His intense gaze made me flustered. Now that I've married into the Xie family, I should fulfill my duties as a wife. Duties? Xie Zhaoyuan cut me off, curling his lips into a sneer. You're intimate with me only to fulfill your wifely duties. Don't you feel even a little bit? Before he could finish his sentence, the gate boy came stumbling in, tripping over his own feet. Third young master, third young mistress. Do you know where the Marquis is? I frowned. What's wrong? Miss Sue's landlord is here. He says Miss Sue has gone missing. Her room was emptied overnight. The three of us rushed to the tenement courtyard where Su Wanning lived. Apart from the landlord's original furniture, there was not a single trace that anyone had ever lived in her room. When did you discover this? Xie Zhaoyu asked anxiously. I got up this morning and saw Miss Su's door was open. I pushed it gently, and found that she was already. Report it to the authorities at once. Wait a minute, I said. There are no signs of a struggle in this room. Could it be that Miss Su left in a hurry for some urgent matter? Before I could finish speaking, Xie Zhaoyu glared at me furiously. I just sent 30 crates of betrothal gifts to her yesterday. Why would she suddenly disappear without a trace, taking everything with her? Wanning has always been a responsible person. She would never vanish without a word. You don't want me to report this to the officials. Did you do this? You're jealous, elder brother. What nonsense are you talking about? Xie Zhaoyuan pulled me behind him protectively. Yunchu is the daughter of a general. She would never stoop to such underhanded tactics. Come on, Yunchu, let's go home. Elder brother can handle this on his own. He grabbed my wrist and pulled me onto the carriage back to the mansion. Inside the carriage, Xie Zhaoyuan kept staring out the window, deliberately avoiding my gaze. I was completely bewildered, not understanding why he was angry with me. That night, Xie Zhaoyuan did not return to our room to sleep with me. It happened to be the end of the month, and the rent from several shops on Yonghe Street was still overdue. I got up early the next morning, deciding to go collect the rent in person. Wanted posters of Su Wanning were plastered all over the streets. I shook my head with a bitter smile. Xie Zhaoyu was so blinded by his concern that he couldn't see straight. If Su Wanning really had been abducted, even if she returned safely, her reputation would be ruined beyond repair. That was exactly why I had tried to stop him from reporting the matter to the officials earlier. Now that the whole city was talking about it, Su Wanning would never be able to step foot into the Marquis of Guangping's mansion again, after collecting the rent. I was about to get back into the carriage when I heard a cat meowing from the alley next to me, followed by a woman's voice that sounded exactly like Su Wanning's. I walked over to the alley with Lan Hua. As soon as we stepped inside, something hit me hard on the back of the head. I blacked out instantly. When I woke up, I heard Su Wanning begging through her tears. I've already helped you catch the real mistress of the Xie family. Can you let me go now? A sharp slap rang out across her face. A man who looked like a bandit glared at her fiercely. Wanted posters of you are plastered all over the city. The Marquis of Xie is looking for you. Do you think you can fool us? Su Wanning sobbed. I'll give you all the betrothal gifts. Just let me go, please. I haven't married the Marquis yet. The old madam of the Xie family has never acknowledged me as her granddaughter-in-law. She is the third young mistress, married into the Xie family with proper matchmaker and wedding rites. The bandit turned his head and saw that I had woken up. He grinned evilly. One is the future Marquis's wife. The other is the third young mistress. Both of you are worth a fortune. Neither of you is getting away. My heart tightened violently, and a chill ran down my spine. We had been kidnapped. The bandits tied us up tightly with ropes and locked us in an abandoned house. Su Wanning curled up in the corner, crying convulsively. Lan Hua muttered angrily, crying won't get you anywhere. If you hadn't lured these bandits into capturing our young lady, we wouldn't be stuck here. Lan Hua, keep your voice down, I whispered, nudging her with my shoulder. Two burly men were guarding the door outside. They could hear every sound inside the house clearly. I shot Lan Hua a meaningful look. She followed my gaze. Not far from where she was sitting, there were several clay jars in the corner of the wall. Lan Hua understood what I was trying to tell her. But breaking the clay jars would definitely alert the men outside, so the two of us began to beg and cry alternately, making as much noise as possible. Shut up, you bitches. One more word and I'll cut out your tongues. As the man roared in anger, Lan Hua smashed the clay jar against the wall. She slowly moved her hand and used a shard of broken pottery to cut the hemp rope binding her wrists. She quickly came over to untie me. Su Wanning sat up abruptly. "Take me with you, or I'll scream for help." We had no choice but to untie her as well. Each of us picked up a wooden stick and screamed at the top of our lungs. The two bandits guarding the door rushed in. We hid behind the door and knocked them unconscious with the sticks. The other bandits were roasting wild game over a fire a few feet away. We moved as quietly as possible, afraid of attracting their attention. But then Su Wanning tripped over a stone and fell to the ground, crying out in pain loudly. The bandits turned around and saw us. I grabbed Lan Hua's hand and shouted, "Run!" The night sky was pitch black above us, and we could barely see the path through the mountains. Faint flickers of firelight and the sound of hurried footsteps could be heard not far away. My heart felt like it was about to jump out of my chest. The thorny branches along the side of the road pricked my skin like countless tiny silver needles, sending waves of pain shooting through my body. Lan Hua held my hand tightly with one hand and wiped the tears from her eyes with the other. I dared not stop running for even a moment. Suddenly, a wave of dizziness washed over me, my legs stumbled, and I almost fell to the ground. Su Wanning, who thought we were slowing her down, ran off in the opposite direction without a second glance. Lan Hua supported me. "Young lady, you haven't eaten anything since you left the mansion this morning. You must have fainted from hunger." She led me to hide behind a patch of grass, where we rested for a moment. All of a sudden, from no more than 3 or 5 steps away, we heard the bandits' voices coming from behind us. "There's blood on the ground. They're injured, they can't have run far." My breath caught in my throat. I grabbed Lan Hua's hand and quickened our pace. "If we can get through this forest, there must be people living nearby." Suddenly, my foot sank into a mud pit, a sharp pain shot through my leg, and my body began to sink deeper and deeper into the mire. The messy, heavy footsteps of the bandits grew closer and closer, and their vulgar curses drifted over to us intermittently. Lan Hua knelt down and tried her best to pull me out. I waved her away, whispering urgently, "Go, get help. Don't worry about me." All of a sudden, a bright burst of firelight cut through the darkness. Lan Hua screamed and jumped to her feet. "Young lady, it's the Marquis. He's here." Xie Zhaoyu was sitting on a tall horse, his eyebrows furrowed and his eyes cold as ice. "Where is Wanning?" Lan Hua replied. "She was with us earlier. She must be hiding somewhere in this forest." The sound of clashing swords rang out in the distance. It was the soldiers Xie Zhaoyu had brought with him, arresting the bandits. He glanced at me indifferently, then rode away without a word. Lan Hua complained angrily, "Young lady, is he just going to leave us here like this?" She pulled me with all her strength, but it was futile. Another set of horse hooves thundered towards us. Before the horse even came to a stop, Xie Zhaoyuan jumped down from its back. He knelt down, wrapped his arms around me, and pulled me out of the mud pit. I was covered in mud from head to toe, and I got him dirty too. "Master, the young lady's leg is injured," Lan Hua cried out. He pressed his lips together tightly and lifted me up in his arms. Suddenly, there was a rustling sound from the grass not far away, probably one of the bandits who had escaped capture. He brandished his sword and charged at us. Xie Zhaoyuan held me securely with one arm, and with the other hand, he pulled a throwing dart from his waist. The dart hit the bandit right in the chest, killing him instantly. I stared at him in shock. "You know martial arts." He placed me on the horse, then climbed up behind me, wrapping his arms around my waist and grabbing the reins tightly. His voice was as cold as ice. "There are many things I can do that you've never bothered to notice." In that moment, a faint pang of jealousy welled up in my heart. All the grievances I had been holding back flooded out, and I burst into loud sobs. "Xie Zhaoyuan, I haven't eaten anything all day. My leg hurts so badly. Just now, I thought I was going to die. I kept wondering why you weren't coming to save me. Were you holding another woman in some brothel? When Xie Zhaoyu found me earlier, he left me behind without a second thought, and I didn't feel a thing. But when I saw you, I finally felt relieved. But you're still angry with me at a time like this. I really don't understand what I did wrong. The more I talked, the more wronged I felt. Tears streamed down my face like pearls, splashing onto the back of Xie Zhaoyuan's hand. He turned my head to face him and pressed a fierce kiss to my lips. My heart was pounding wildly. He spoke in a low voice, so quiet that only I could hear him. Be good, let's find a more private place for you to throw your tantrum. Okay. That night, all the bandits were arrested, in prison. Su Wanning confessed that she had originally planned to flee under the cover of night, taking the Xie family's betrothal gifts with her. But a woman traveling alone with dozens of crates of valuable treasures had attracted the attention of the bandits. They had kidnapped her, hoping to extort more money from her. As the bandits counted the gold and silver jewels, one of them had said, "Who would have thought we'd kidnap the mistress of the Xie family? We're definitely going to get a huge ransom from the Marquis." Among those bandits were former soldiers who had been expelled from the military by Xie Zhaoyu when he was leading his troops. To save her own life, Su Wanning had told them she could help them kidnap the real mistress of the Xie family. Because the matter involved my reputation, my father personally intervened, demanding that Su Wanning's confession never be leaked to the public. It was only stated that she had colluded with the bandits to plot against the Xie family's wealth. Not a single word was mentioned about my kidnapping. They managed to keep the truth from the common people, but they couldn't hide it from the emperor. Such a major incident happening right under the emperor's nose enraged him greatly. He severely reprimanded all the officials involved and deducted their salaries as punishment. Xie Zhaoyu was still stubbornly clinging to his foolish infatuation. He actually tried to plead for Su Wanning's release. He submitted a memorial to the emperor. Wanning is a kind and virtuous woman. Once, I accidentally destroyed her stall, and she didn't even ask me for compensation. She must have been threatened by those bandits and had no choice but to help them kidnap my sister-in-law. Before he could finish speaking, the emperor threw a memorial at his face in a fit of rage, threatening to strip him of his Marquis title. The dowager of the Xie family, who was the cousin of the current Empress Dowager, knelt before the emperor and begged him relentlessly, barely managing to preserve the Xie family's last shred of honor. The Marquis title was instead passed down to Xie Zhaoyuan. The dowager locked Xie Zhaoyu in the ancestral hall, ordering him to repent in front of the ancestral tablets. But he defiantly retorted, "Grandmother, Wanning is truly innocent." The mistress of the Xie family shook her head repeatedly, sighing in despair that he was a hopeless case, too foolish to be helped. "Did you know she approached you deliberately from the very beginning? She never wanted your affection, she wanted the Xie family's fortune. I went to the prison to question her. She's far more clear-headed than you are. She said she's an orphan with no family to rely on. A wealthy, high-status mansion was never her true home. At first, she only wanted to swindle some benefits, but later, seeing how deeply you loved her, her greed grew bigger and bigger. Tell me the truth, did you and her ever have an intimate relationship?" Xie Zhaoyu looked stunned. He whispered, "It was Wanning who told me to say that. She said only then would you agree to let me marry her." Two sharp slaps landed heavily on Xie Zhaoyu's face. The mistress of the Xie family was overcome with grief. She knelt before the ancestral tablets, blaming herself for failing to teach her grandson properly. "I was lying in bed recovering from my injuries. And Lan Hua told me all these things. Young lady, that's not all. I heard Master is still seething with anger and is going to get revenge for you. Although my father was now retired and living in leisure, he still held great prestige in the military. The officials he had once mentored submitted memorial after memorial to the emperor. In the end, the emperor dismissed Xie Zhaoyu from his official post and sentenced him to flogging as punishment. The punishment was to be carried out right in the inner courtyard of the Xie mansion. Whip after whip came down, splattering blood everywhere. I trembled in fear as Xie Zhaoyu's face turned paler and paler. The dowager of the Xie family's face crumpled into a mess of wrinkles. Tears streamed silently down her aged cheeks. She was already so old, she couldn't bear such a blow. I was about to walk over to comfort her when Xie Zhaoyuan pulled me back into our bedroom with one hand. Do you still have feelings for him? Are you going to beg for mercy on his behalf? As soon as he finished speaking, he grabbed my chin with one hand, forcing my face up. His warm, soft lips crashed fiercely onto mine. My mind went completely blank. I reached out to push him away, but I couldn't move him at all. All I could feel was the rapid, thumping beat of his heart against his chest. I was on the verge of suffocation, my legs turning weak from his kisses, when Xie Zhaoyuan finally let me go. I gasped for breath, then said, Xie Zhaoyuan, can you stop kissing me whenever you want? His eyes were deep and unfathomable as he stared at me. My heart was pounding wildly. I stepped back in fear until my back hit the door, holding my breath. I couldn't help but want to confirm the suspicion that had been lingering in my mind for days. Xie Zhaoyuan, you like me, don't you? More than that. Xie Zhaoyuan's lips crashed onto mine again. My arms wrapped around his neck like vines as I kissed him back clumsily. When did you start liking me? His Adam's apple bobbed up and down as he said hoarsely, It's been too long. I can't remember. My heart skipped a beat. Too long. Could it be since we were children? Xie Zhaoyuan let out a soft chuckle. Maybe it was when you helped me get my toy back, or when I came covered in dirt after fighting with the other kids, and you handed me a handkerchief. Or perhaps it was